What's going on, you guys? We are back with another NBA mock draft. This time post lottery, of course. Of course, I was attempting to get it out right after the lottery, but things got in the way, so gonna be doing it tonight. So hopefully, you guys are doing well. We're gonna get right into it as soon as I'm able to share the screen here for you. Hopefully, you guys are able to see this. If not, that's a shame. But first overall, of course, Washington was able to win the lottery, and I do believe that they should take Cameron Boozer. And this is a draft that, or this mock is going to be one that I would do. So this is where Boozer is going to go first overall. For some reason, it's not letting me pick, but there we go. But nonetheless, Boozer is the epitome of winning. I believe that he is the number one prospect in the class. His combination of field processing, all-around versatility on the offensive side make him a really unique engine in the ways that he's able to operate as a pick-and-roll handler, as a short-roll man in transition, as a playmaking hub in the post. He has the entire package offensively, and I don't want to give him a one-to-one comp because he's very unique in my opinion, but in terms of impact, I could see, like, in terms of his impact, just a Jokic esque kind of variant, and just in the way that he processes the game, passes out of double teams, and makes his team a lot better around him. But he has questions on the defensive end, mainly surrounding his athleticism. But nonetheless, I think he'll be excellent and an MVP type of player, especially if he's next to a defensive big, which I do believe would be really fire with any of the first three teams picking in the draft, but Anthony Davis specifically would be really sick. But moving on to number two, I do have Utah taking, or I should say I would have Utah taking Darren Peterson to kind of play alongside Keontae George. I know Peterson has come out and stated that he wants to play point guard, but I just don't. I don't see the vision with that right now, unless he returns to his pre-NCAA kind of athleticism and stuff like that. But he's kind of a high usage, low assist number, kind of just a pure two guard. But there is still some elite value in that, considering how good of a shooter he is off the ball. He has some really solid instincts on the defensive end and a clearly plus wingspan that allows him to kind of help weak side and protect the rim, but also create turnovers and passing lanes. But if he's able to get up to his high, this is a potential offensive engine. I just don't know if he gets to that. But Peterson, of course, uber talented off the ball scorer who would really flourish in that high movement system that Will Hardy loves to run in Utah. But moving on to number three, I've been kind of going between these two for a little bit now because I do have Wilson one spot higher on my board, but I wonder if they would favor DeBonsa over Wilson just in terms of the high usage type of player with DeBonsa, but I like Wilson a little bit more just in terms of the pathway to being an impactful player long term. Wilson has some really solid touch in the mid-range. He's a defensive monster. He tested really well at the combine. He does have some struggles kind of guarding in space, but I think he more than makes up for it with his activity on the glass, his transition impact, his ability to kind of play finish and be in that dunker spot, but also probably being a turnover reverse in terms of, like, he doesn't turn it over. So he has a really good influence on his team's lineups in that sense. And I'm really, really impressive with what he was able to do in a limited amount of time, especially due to the injury. But Wilson in Memphis alongside Zach Edey would be a really fun front court for the future. DeBonsa falls to 4 in this one. I just don't know if he hits his highest outcome, and his highest outcome is, or it's going to have to be something like Shea, because he would have to be something, or he'd have to be wildly efficient inside the arc, which maybe he has the potential to do. He's shown that he can go off for 40 at any given night, but the defensive concerns are really there, and a lot of, like, the conversation surrounding him is like he has the highest upside in the class, but I'm a fan of, like, production kind of being that pathway to seeing your ceiling in terms of your steal percentage and your block percentage, and not just looking at the athletic traits. But DeBonsa, he just did not create much on the defensive end, which is really unfortunate for a guy of his pedigree. But if he doesn't hit his high, what type of player is he? That's my main concern with him. But Chicago, they have that slap acronym. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they're valuing strength, length, athleticism, and physicality, and I think Debonsa fits that mold. But at 5, we're going to see Adai Mara actually come off the board here. I am a big fan of Mara as a towering facilitator who is able to do multiple different things out of the short roll, but also has some real flashes on the block with his footwork. And I think his touch improved as the season went on, and he's still coming out as just a sophomore. So I have a good feeling that he's not done developing at all. But he also improved as a free throw shooter down the stretch. That is definitely a concern and something to keep track of for sure. But Amara has a real chance, in my opinion, because he kind of fits that Donovan Clingan mold, and maybe not Zach Edey quite exactly, or not close to him, but it's just in terms of the physicality. I think that's the main part with Mara where he's got to get better. But I think he has a real chance to anchor an elite defense at some point, and I think that's worth a top 5 pick. At 6, he's not my number 1 point guard on the board, but Michael Brown is a perfect fit in Brooklyn for a high 3-point rate type of team with Jordi Fernandez in Brooklyn. And if there's anybody that can probably get the star outcome of Michael Brown, I think it is Jordi Fernandez. But we're going to move on. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker so you guys aren't watching this for an hour so I don't start yapping on about somebody else. But Sacramento, this is just a tough spot for just about anybody. And I've been pretty torn with this spot for a while now, but I am a huge fan of my guy from Stanford, Ibuka Okore. Has the highest rim attempts per 100 possessions since Ja Morant. So he is a walking paint touch, but he also takes a lot of threes off the dribble, and he's not a complete negative on defense, that's elite. And he was 6'1", and he measured him with his 6'8" wingspan. He has some of the production to kind of back it up, and which allows him to kind of have a ceiling on defense to the point where it's not going to be like completely targeting him every time down. But I think he has the ability to create some events on that end. But one of the main things with him is like he does not turn the ball over, and that's really important in the margin game and the possession battle, but also just for his team's structure. In Sacramento, I mean, they're in dire need of a lead guard. A lot of people think this guard class is extremely deep. I think there's a few guys that have that star potential, but Okore in Sacramento I think would be really fun for them long term. Leading to the Atlanta Hawks at 8, which is originally where I was going to have Mara, but I'm going to end up not doing that. But we're going to pivot here to a really underrated guy, Alan Graves from Santa Clara. Twitter's draft darling, and I've succumbed to it. He is pretty much the marginal battle winner in terms of offensive rebounding, creating extra possessions on, of course, the offensive side, but also creating turnovers on the defensive end at an all-time rate. He does it at an extremely good level, whether it's blocks, steals, defensive rebounds, but he doesn't turn it over. He can shoot the 3-ball, and he is the ultimate impact glue guy. And I think he is kind of like a Draymond variant. Somebody else compared him to Colin Murray-Boyles, which I kind of agree with, but Murray-Boyles is definitely a better athlete and probably rim finisher. But Graves is one he's probably going to be an extremely positive playoff starter at some point, at least in my opinion. All his numbers really back it up, and I think that'd be a really fun fit in Atlanta, who really loves these versatile guys that can kind of get out and transition. But moving on to 9, this is obviously the dream fit, or for the Mavericks would be Michael Brown. But we're going to pivot off here, and we're actually going to go with my guy in Kingston Flemings. And one of the main things with Flemings is the 3-point rate, and it really is a problem. I do wonder like how much the Houston offense and kind of Kelvin Sampson played into that. However, he definitely needs to get more up in the league. But he creates events on defense. He is an excellent downhill driver and playmaker. He is cerebral on the defensive end in terms of his rotations, just being able to create turnovers, like I mentioned. But and he really gets to his pull-up game. That seems to be his style of offense. So, of course, playing alongside Kyrie, that could help another smaller guard. But Flemings, I think he definitely has a pathway to potentially becoming that star guard if he continues to raise the 3-point rate, but also get a little bit more physical downhill. Because as the competition started to grow, his numbers in terms of his rim finishing, it did drop. So that is definitely a concern. But I'm really excited to see where Flemings lands, because I think he's got a real chance to be the best guard in this draft, outside of probably Peterson, I want to say. But moving on to Milwaukee at 10, my guy Ed is going to get one of the best players in the class, in my opinion, and that is the 6'9" Derek White in Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan, who is the ultimate impact playoff starter, in my opinion, from day one, maybe year two. But nonetheless, he is one that is impactful on the margins. We've seen him in a scaled-up role at UAB, but also in a scaled-down role at Michigan, where he was able to defend at a high level, rebound at a high level, or not necessarily rebound at a high level because of his kind of the lineup context, but he rebounded at an extremely high level at UAB. Knocked down a three, he is a connective passer, get down transition, play finisher, he's athletic. Like, this is the type of playoff starter that you want, especially if Milwaukee is still in the Giannis era. So, I mean, we'll of course see what happens there, but Lendeborg in Milwaukee would be a perfect fit, and take him away from OKC, which not a lot of people want to see. But moving on to Golden State at 11, this is where my guy Keaton Wagler is going to come off. He's grown on me over the past month or so. Of course, like, the 2-point scoring it's rough, and like the lead guard profile, I don't think it's that good. I just don't think he's going to turn into that type of guy, just because of the lack of athleticism, but also kind of the lack of physicality on drives, and the 2-point scoring, like, historically, it just doesn't really lead to these lead guards. Plus, he's slow, respectfully, but he's crafty. He doesn't turn it over. He impacts the offensive rebounding game, which is a really good sign for somebody who's not very athletic. But a lot of guys, like, they tend to compare him to Jaguars United coming out last year. A lot of people really liked him because they thought he was a 6'8", 6'9" point guard, and I did at first, but with Gilman, of course. But as the season kind of wavered on, like, when he was playing tougher competition, he couldn't really handle the ball against pressure. And I think Wagler has a better handle, but I still worry about the athleticism and the burst and all that. So I do see Wagler as more of a connective kind of guard-wing combo, but that's just one that I would not take in the top 10. 11, I think, is fine. I think that's where the range should start with him, personally, but that's an impactful player, because he is a deep-range shot maker who can make a play off the bounce, just not super consistently. But moving on to number 12 is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we are going to have Hans Steinbach come off the board. He's getting close to my top 10 on my board, because he is one of the better rebounding prospects that we have seen in a long time from Washington. They kind of had a rough go this past season, but Steinbach has really soft hands, good touch around the rim. I think he's able to kind of like push the break himself, so he's got some skill and kind of untapped potential there, I think, in my opinion. But OKC, like, Hartenstein's probably on the way out next year. This could be another guy that you can kind of just slide in next to Chet and probably be a really impactful player from day one, and I want to say limited minutes, but especially with Thomas Sorber coming back, I'm sure we'll see a lot more minutes for him next year. But Steinbach was one that I wrote a report on a while ago, and he's a really fun one. So I'm excited to see where he lands. I think OKC would be a really nice spot for Steinbach. Moving on to 13 for the Miami Heat. They can go in a bunch of different ways, honestly. I'm pretty torn. This is kind of tough. So I'm leaning towards Damon Swain. I'm a little bit lower on him than I was like earlier, but he still has really fun kind of ISO scoring and all that. But gosh, this is tough. I'm gonna go with Phylon. I got a feeling they're gonna go with a guard. I think Phylon is probably the last guard here that I would take this high. I'm a fan of Tanner as well, but I mean, Phylon's one that was last year. He was in more of a scaled down role, playing alongside Mark Sears at Bama. So this past year, when he entered or kind of went to the combine, they told him, like, you got to get more threes up, you got to see you convert more threes, and that's exactly what he did. So he is shown the the lead guard profile, and I think that in a potentially scaled down role in Miami, he could get back to where he was, at least on in terms of his steal percentage. Definitely took a drop just because of the higher usage and all that, but in a scaled down role, I think he can definitely exert more energy on that end. But Filon's another fun one that's really crafty. Can once he gets downhill, it's he's pretty efficient down there and does a really good job with like these interior passes and being able to kick it out to his guys. So Filon, he's a fun one. I'd definitely watch him if you haven't. But moving on to Charlotte at 14, and they can go in a variety of different ways. It's a shame that Bennett Sturts is still sitting here because I have him higher than just about every guard on this board, on this current board right now. It may just be the age that I'm scared of right now, but like I have him over Filon, Wagler, and Flemings, and it's close to Okore, but I don't know. But at 14, I think Sturts could be a really fun fit here. Of course, I kind of want to see him like in a more, I don't want to say a prominent like on-ball role, but like a team like the Raptors or alongside Cade in Detroit, where he would probably be tasked with a little bit more responsibility in terms of like the handling. But the Charlotte Hornets, like they're in need of a backup kind of creator that doesn't really turn it over, and Sturts kind of fits that scheme in my opinion. I know he played really slow at with Ben McCollum at Drake and Northwest Missouri State, and this past year at Iowa, but I think he's definitely built for the league. Like even Sturts himself, like he said that he thinks he's better off the ball, and I think I agree with that because his connectivity is really solid. His feel was off the charts, of course. Processing is elite. He's a really good cutter off the ball as well, and kind of I don't think it was like limited reps with that, but considering he was on the ball all the time at Iowa, but I think he definitely has the feel for it and just the overall skill set for it because he has the most complete shot profile in the class actually, in just terms of like the self creation from deep, heavily self created shot diet in terms of like his 2-point scoring, getting to the rim where he shot 70% at the rim as probably a slightly below average NBA level athlete, and which is just, that's outrageous. And it's, especially when it's highly unassisted, which is exactly what Sturts did. And I think he has a potential to really outplay his draft position, but also maybe turn into like a Ty Jerome plus. Like that's probably where I'm at with him. But Chicago at 15 here. I'm going to try to speed it up just a little bit, but we're going to go with Acquaintance at 15 with Chicago. That'd be a really fun fit. He's another one, strength, length, athleticism, and physicality for that kind of acronym that I want to say Bryson Graham. Apologies if I got his name wrong for Chicago, the new guy in charge over there, but that's what they value. Acquaintance is a potential monster on the defensive end, and I'd be really intrigued to see where he lands. At 16 here with Memphis, we are going to lean in the guard route, but my guy is still sitting here, and we're going to go with Dalen Swain. I know you guys may be saying that's two non-shooters for Memphis, but I think they can probably work around that, and I think Swain at some point will be a serviceable enough shooter. He's one that's really fun. He kind of has the, like, numbers-wise, I think he has the star wing profile. It was fairly similar to Tatum and Franz coming out of school. Speaking of Franz, got the jersey back there, new setup. It's not that good, but it's all right. But Swain, actually, he rebounds at an extremely high level for a wing. He does turn it over a lot. That's kind of the main thing. But he was also tasked with a really heavy workload in a tough offensive context. But Swain, probably the best slashing, has the best slashing profile in the class, if I'm not mistaken. And at some point, I want to say it was like 1.5 points per possession in ISO. And he's a really solid passer as well. But the defensive end early on in his career, that will be his calling card, and that's rare. I feel like, kind of just touch on Franz, like in terms of like the comp, like Wagner is an elite role player who is able to scale up and honestly run a better offense than their team's best player. Of course, I'm talking about Paolo, but that's a conversation for another day. But Swain, I feel like that could be a similar path at some point with him. So I'm excited to see where he lands. He is a really interesting and fun player, so I would definitely recommend going to watch some of him if you haven't already. But moving back to the draft, number 17, we have the Thunder back up after taking Steinbach. Another team that can go in a variety of different ways. I'm probably going to go with, this isn't what I would do, I don't think, but I do think they would probably take Cameron Carr at this point. They value some length and athleticism on the wing. He gets blocks a lot of shots. Not a very high steal percentage, which is not ideal for somebody probably labeled as a 3-and-D wing, but good shooter, lob threat. He's got a ways to go, but he kind of has the blueprint, kind of similar to Trey Murphy, I want to say, but I definitely think Murphy was probably a little bit better coming out of school. But Charlotte back up here at 18, and of course I took Quaintance because that would have been my other pick for them, but we're going to go with my guy, Morez Johnson. Really athletic, kind of play finisher, kind of Isaiah Stewart-esque type of enforcer on the defensive end, but really active on the offensive glass, or both sides of the glass, really. But eventually he's going to have to step out and take some threes. But we saw like how impactful Moussa Diabate was for Charlotte, so I wonder if Morez could be like the long-term solution there at the position if they are not able to resign Diabate. But Morez, really fun one that was probably going to return lottery level value, or at least top 20 value in this draft for sure. At 19, I know you guys have been waiting for him, so we're going to go. Ooh, actually, this is tough. I'm gonna wait out on Tyler Tanner because I do think he's gonna go later. I want to get a little bit realistic here, but I guess we'll stop the Acuff fall. But at 19 with the Raptors here, of course, exceptional offensive talent. I think he is really impressive on this end. Didn't draw a lot of fouls, which is what you kind of want to see with a lead guard, and that's really a heavy indicator for kind of that star profile, and he didn't really do that at an extremely high level. I think it was like 50th percentile, I want to say, and kind of like the self-created threes. He didn't take a lot. I don't think he took enough. Is pretty much what I'm trying to say. However, you know what I'm going to talk about next. His defensive impact is pretty much zero, and it's honestly a lot more. It's really unimpressive after the combine numbers came out for him to have a 6'7" wingspan and still be that not impactful on the end. Like that's interesting, man. But nonetheless, he has high-end offensive value. If he's able to hit his high, then I can shut up, and he turns into a lead guard. But Toronto would be a really solid landing spot in an ecosystem where he would kind of be suppressed to an extent on the defensive end, surrounded by Murray Boyles and Barnes and a bunch of these longer athletic guys. So that'd be kind of cool long-term for him. If he's able to turn into a lead guard, cool. If not, that could be a salary dump. But I just don't see it. Apologies for the Acuff guys. But at 20 is the San Antonio Spurs. And this is another team that is, of course, in the playoffs, having a pretty good run right now as well. So they can go just about anywhere. I'm sure they want a little bit more shooting. However, I'm not going to go that direction. Braden Burry's kind of probably not, but one guy that's probably a little bit higher on my board, or at least on my next one, is probably Chris Sinak, who is willing to take threes as a, I want to say a 6'10" or 6'9" or 6'10", kind of tweener. I don't want to say a tweener big, but because he'd probably play the four with Wemby out there, but really athletic with a 7'5" wingspan, good on the defensive end, really got engaged towards the end of the season. He started to figure it out, especially with Kelvin Sampson. Like, you got to defend. And he was a lot better towards the end. He just couldn't hit shots, but, like, you can appreciate the willingness to take the threes, and I think that at some point he could be serviceable in that sense. So I wonder about Sinak. But I don't think I would take him this high. I'd probably lean towards the later first, even though this is starting to creep towards it. But Sinak, like, he's another fun one, long-term project for sure. In San Antonio, they have a good track record of developing guys. So that'd be a really fun fit potentially long term with Wembanyama. But moving on to Detroit here for pick number 21. Christian Anderson would be a really fun pick here. I have Tanner above him. I don't even know if I have Anderson in my top 30 right now, but he's one that's probably bound to rise, at least for me. He'd be a really nice complimentary guard alongside Cade, just because he needs help. He's burdened with he has a heavy burden with that on-ball percentage being, I want to say, close to 50%, which is just nuts. But they are in need of another handler that can shoot it, kind of get their own, and potentially just table set when Cade is out and kind of keep the team on schedule for the most part. But Anderson, he has his concerns defensively, just as any small guard does, but takes a lot of threes off the dribble, converted a lot as well. Good touch in the kind of the intermediate range, if I'm not mistaken. But it'd be a fun fit there. At 22, we're going to have, at this point, it feels like the fall with Burries should probably stop, but I'm not the biggest Burries guy because I don't know what his specifically good skill is. Good transition player. He's fairly efficient throughout the season, but a lot of that was a lot of the assisted looks and transition type of stuff. But if he hits his high, that's a pretty solid combo guard who can come in and affect you on the margins as a rebounder, on the defensive end, creating turnovers. Pretty solid. He just needs the consistency with the three ball specifically, but he'd be fun there. Atlanta is back up, and if I'm not mistaken, who did I take first time? Took Allen Graves. So they probably go with the guard here. Oops. I don't know if there's any guard that I would take, though. Yes, there is. Of course, he's staring me right in the face. Tyler Tanner, my guy. Statistically, he's basically 6'6", which is kind of crazy because he had a boatload of dunks. I want to say 15 or 16 dunks. And he's 5'10", 166 with a 6'4" wingspan, which is pretty good difference there, but positively, of course. But Tanner, he's analytical darling, another one. He's probably kind of in the same spot as my last board. I think I had him at 16, I want to say. A little bit over A-Cuff, so, theoretically, if it was just purely a mock that I would do, he'd probably be taken by Charlotte here, and starts would, of course, be higher, but Tanner, he's fun, man. He's extremely quick with the ball in his hands, doesn't turn it over, got a lot more threes up this past year, and I want to say finished a little bit above 60% at the rim, which is pretty solid for somebody that small and just doesn't really have the intermediate game or the free throw rate to kind of pair with that and kind of turn him into that star guard, I don't think. But Tanner's a fun one. It's going to be tough for him defensively regardless, just because of the physical limitations. That's just how it is. So it's tough, but I'm a fan of Tanner. But at 24, we're going to try to fly through these last ones here. The New York Knicks. We're not going to take Luigi. I've seen a lot of buzz with him. However, we're going to go with Jace. It's tough. This is tough. I feel like Koa Pete would go here for some reason, so we're going to go there. I feel like Josh Hart could be on the way out. Maybe looking for another non-shooter that could potentially become an impactful player. But, we're going to go with Koa Pete there. Athletic, not the biggest fan. Just he can't shoot the ball. That's just the tough part. At 25, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, and I am tempted to go with Zuby, Terrace Reed, or Joshua Jefferson. Probably one of those three. Isaiah Evans would be really fun. He would be fun. So, actually, let's do it. We're going to go Isaiah Evans. I like him, honestly, as kind of 3-and-D wing is kind of like a weird prototype there's not that many true ones, and people have the labels of them that aren't, but it's whatever. Isaiah Evans, really good shooter, good off of screens, kind of getting downhill, looking to kind of create for himself downhill. When he already has the advantage, you're not gonna ask him to really create on his own or be a playmaker, but knockdown shooter. Lakers need more, I guess, but he also has good positional size. At 26, the Denver Nuggets are back up here, and they'd probably go guard, I think. Gosh. Yeah, they can go in a multitude of ways here, but I don't think if it... man, this is tough. We're going to go Malik Thomas. Kind of a guy that can probably play off of Jokic really well, kind of increase his numbers. Good shooter, created some plays on the defensive end as well. Has an interesting scoring style inside the arc. Has a really interesting step-through floater that he loves to do. But Thomas, he's definitely a developmental kind of guard, but he's fun. He's fun. Boston is up here, and I saw a mock earlier. My guy did it on TikTok, I want to say, but Zuby in Boston would be really fun, in my opinion. Kind of as that glue guy who can defend, rebound, block a shot, make a pass, knock down a three every once in a while, and kind of play finish. So maybe that's your little interesting Draymond-esque type of role impact glue guy. But Zuby's a fun one. He has a really solid profile analytically, and I'm intrigued to see where he lands for sure. At 28, Joshua Jefferson. Kind of a do-it-all offensive guy who's not too bad on defense, honestly. Good passer, can knock down a three, can kind of handle it a little bit. He's an interesting, kind of offensive, almost like a hub, almost. But he was at Iowa State, so that was kind of a different context. But Jefferson's a versatile kind of offensive guy for, of course, the former Cyclone, but playing alongside Ant and Gobert, and I feel like Randall's probably on the way out there, so maybe they want some more front court help. Another kind of big, similar, not a one-to-one comp, but Naz Reid is a bigger guy that can kind of handle it, shoot it, make a play. So that'd be kind of fun for them. At 29, we have the Cavs. I'm almost done with this first round. I said I was going to fly through. I have not, so that is on me, but we're doing it anyway. At 29, we're going to go with Nate Ament, kind of stop the fall there. Long-term developmental piece. Not a fan of the two-point scoring at all, or the physicality, or I don't want to say anything, but he got fouled a lot. He has the whistle for that, so maybe that turns into something at some point. Kind of like I don't want to call him just purely Ricochet, but that's fairly similar to what his type of style is and kind of the player that he could be, which is not ideal. But moving on, last pick of the first round. I don't think Kareem Lopez is going to make it to the second round, so we're going to take him here to finish the first round. And if I'm not mistaken, who did I take? I took Flemings. Okay. Lopez is one I wrote a report on. Similar to Kyle Anderson, kind of the way that he moves. He's kind of more of a powerful wing, and I did some college, or when I did the write-up on him, he had similar profiles analytically to Keegan Murray coming out. Of course, Murray was a far better shooter. Yaxel Lendeborg, it's a good one. Just guys that rebound, can create some plays on defense, and kind of connect on offense. But Lopez definitely more of a longer-term type of guy. But let's go ahead and scroll through the first round one more time, just so you guys can see it. Of course, Boozer headlining it. DeBonsa, I guess, falling to 4. That's probably what I would do, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I've been in need of putting another video out here, especially if you're from Jason's channel. Shout out to you guys, especially if you stayed this long for the video of me just yapping about nonsense. But feel free to leave a comment down below. Of course, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe if you guys are still here. So once again, appreciate you guys. God bless. I'll see you in the next video.